Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Listen Up Grow podcast, your space for unfiltered LGBTQ plus news, culture, and conversations that actually matter. Today's episode is layered. We're talking about consequences, what happens when personal beliefs collide with public platforms. We're talking about visibility, who gets protected and who gets silenced, and who gets celebrated. And we're talking about power because make no mistake, every single story today is about who has it and how they use it. From NBA to Hollywood, government policies, this is one of those episodes where everything connects. Our first story is Jaden Ivey, the NBA, and the consequences. So let's start with a story that's getting people fired up. Former Chicago Bulls guard Jaden Ivey was waived after posting anti-pride remarks calling LGBTQ plus identities unrighteous and criticizing the NBA for celebrating Pride Month. The team's response, immediate. They cited conduct detrimental to the team. Now, here's where I want to slow this down because people are already turning this into a free speech debate. And listen, yes, you are allowed to have beliefs, but here's the reality that a lot of people don't sit with. Freedom of belief does not mean freedom from consequences, especially when you're part of a global organization. Your words impact teammates, fans, and business partners, and your platform amplifies those words instantly. This isn't just about religion, this is about context. You can wear a cross, you can pray before a game, you can live your faith fully. But the second your message becomes about labeling other people as lesser, wrong, or unrighteous, it stops being personal and becomes public impact. And here's the part that people don't say out loud. The NBA is not just a sports league. It's a brand, it's a business, it's a global cultural force. So when you, as a player, publicly undermine a community that the league actively supports, you're not just sharing your opinion. You're creating a liability. Now, do I think he understood that? Probably not fully, but there's a pattern we see over and over again. People believe they are speaking the truth without realizing they're also burning bridges. And in a team environment, that matters even more because chemistry, trust, and respect are not optional. They're everything. Hopefully he learned a lesson. Our next story is Pedro Pascal and what real allyship looks like. I love talking about Pedro Pascal because he's one of my favorite people, one of my favorite allies, and he is using his platform to talk in a very different way. And honestly, this is what allyship should look like. Not performative, not a once-a-year pride post, not big statements, consistent, vocal, and personally. He has repeatedly spoken out for trans rights and not in a safe, PR-approved way. He's been emotional, protective, direct, and I think what hits hardest is that it's as personal for him as his trans sister. Because when it becomes personal, it becomes real. And that's something I wish more people understood. This isn't theoretical. There aren't issues, they are people's lives. When someone like Pedro Pascal says, "You inspire me, your joy is your power," that matters. Because right now, trans people are being debated like policy topics instead of human beings. So moments like this, they cut through the noise. And also, happy birthday, because today is Pedro Pascal's birthday. So happy birthday to him. Hope he has an amazing day. Our next story is the largest trans flag, joy as resistance. Now let's go to Australia because this story gave me chills. An 800 square meter trans pride flag, yes, the largest in the world, was unveiled for Trans Day of Visibility. And I want to be clear, this is not just a celebration, this is a response. Because while that flag was being stitched together by volunteers, policies were being put in place restricting gender-affirming care for trans youth until 2031. So what you're seeing here is something really powerful. Joy and protest happening at the same time. And that's something queer communities have always done. We celebrate while we fight. We create beauty while we resist. And honestly, that's why visibility matters. Because the more people try to erase you, the louder you have to become. Next, we go to John Lithgow, J.K. Rowling, and the misunderstood argument. So let's talk about a phrase that nowadays raises a red flag for me, misunderstood. John Lithgow recently defended J.K. Rowling, saying her views on trans issues have been misrepresentative. And I'm going to say something that might not be popular. At this point, it's not a misunderstanding. It's a disagreement. Because when somebody repeatedly says things that a community tells you are harmful and you continue to say them, that's not confusion, that's a position. And when public figures step in to defend that by saying it's overblown or misinterpreted, what it does is minimize the lived experience of the people affected. And that's the real issue because words don't exist in a vacuum. They shape policy, they shape public opinion, they shape safety. So this idea is all just a misunderstanding. That doesn't land the same way when you're the one being targeted. So I think John needs to rethink his public opinion and realize that what she is saying is how she really feels. And there's no misunderstanding. She does not like trans people. She's made that clear. And she continues to push that out there. She's a negative bitch. Now, Taylor Swift is using the power the right way. Let's shift gears because this is how you use influence correctly. Taylor Swift's new video is directing royalties to the Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation. And I love this for two reasons. One, because it honors history. Elizabeth Taylor is one of the first major celebrities to show up during the AIDS crisis when people were literally being abandoned. And two, it connects past and present because HIV/AIDS advocacy is not over. It doesn't get the same headlines anymore. And this is what powerful people can do. They can keep stories and cause alive. And that's what Taylor Swift is doing. So thank you, Taylor. Next, trans athletes' lawsuits and the bigger strategy. So let's zoom out. Because the lawsuit against Minnesota over trans athletes policy, this is not an isolated situation. This is part of a bigger strategy. And whether you agree or disagree on the issue, here's what's important to understand. The conversation is being framed in a very specific way. It's being framed around fairness in sports. But underneath that, it's about access, it's about identity, and it's about who's going to get to belong. And we're seeing this play out across the country. So this isn't going away anytime soon. Next, we have more book bans and control over information. The Tennessee Library story, this one hits differently because it's not just about books, it's about control. When you remove books about gender identity or LGBTQ plus experiences from children's section, what you're really doing is deciding what stories are allowed to exist. And that is powerful because representation isn't about visibility, it's about validation. For some kids, those books are the first time they will see themselves reflected, and taking that away will have consequences. Next, we go to Neil Patrick Harris and the love that lasts. So I want to end on something grounded. Neil Patrick Harris and David Burke got 22 years together. And I keep thinking about this. In a world that moves fast, that constantly chases what's new, there's something really powerful about something that lasts. Not flashy, not viral, just real. And that's the most radical thing of all. So congratulations to Doogie Howser, Neil Patrick Harris, and his husband, David Burke. So what did we learn today? That visibility matters, words have consequences, and how you use your platform, whether you're an athlete, an actor, or a global superstar, actually shapes the world we live in. Some people use their voice to divide, some use it to protect, and some use it to build something bigger than themselves. The question is, which one are you choosing? I will see you tomorrow with more LGBTQ plus news. If this story resonated with you, please share it with a few people. And please leave a comment on whatever platform you're listening to this podcast on. Thank you.